So we come to the next one. What do I need to take along with me? Well, before that, one point is how do I prepare for Hajj? And the one thing is, it's really important to get the walking in. Especially, I remember the feedback from our group was I wish people had told us how much walking is involved. Have you all done Hajj before?
No.
You've not done Hajj? You've not? No. Oh, good. Yeah, you're going to do a lot of walking. Yeah. This year it's less relevant because I spoke to the representative Dome Tours, and he said do not risk walking when you don't have to, because the heat is intense this year. When I went, it was in December 10 years ago, and so it was okay. But this year, he says basically, last year he said even that one brother was insistent on walking and he felt really ill. So it's really intense heat out there. So you want to be, you don't want to be trying to walk from Arafat to Muzdalifah or any of these. But there will be one day where you can't avoid doing the walking, which is when you're going from Muzdalifah to Mina to Mecca and then back. Zubair clocked about 18 miles, that was. And you're tired already because just the rigours of Hajj. And so it's best to he recommended that you do about 5 miles walking every day before. But do what you can.
Is the plane quite flat, or is it?
Yeah, it's not you haven't got hills, but it's just that I mean, I remember coming back and getting into my hotel room in Mecca and being absolutely shattered. I mean, really shattered, and you've got heat on top of that, so you've really got to conserve your energy. And we'll speak more about that when we get on we speak about the days, but get the walking in beforehand as much as you possibly can, and have obviously really decent footwear that's going to last you. And so that moves us. Any questions about that before we go into things recommended to put in your suitcase? No? So the things we've got here, good footwear, and when we say good footwear, I recommend a number of different footwear. I recommend cheap flip-flops for just going to and from the haram, because you may lose them. And then good footwear, like I don't know, Clarks or something that's sturdy that you can walk around in. Men have obviously got restrictions of footwear when they're in ihram. If you go onto the slide after that, I've got an image of the footwear that's permissible and not permissible according to the Hanafi school. So really, ideally, if you're out of precaution, you should be wearing something that looks similar to the one in the second image there. So the point is, it shouldn't be covering the laces of your foot. Where you'd have laces on your shoes. This is irrelevant for you girls. You can wear your Nike pumps if you want to. The men, they have to obviously in the strict Hanafi position is that the lace area should not be covered. And they say even in the strictest position is even anything above that. Okay, so but that's not that there's no penalty for having that. So if you want to be super precautious, you should have something just covering the front like that. Okay, but you can you get those ones that have the strap support. Some say there's no penalty for wearing those. Okay, as long as that area's covered. Okay, in the other schools, they say the restriction is that it shouldn't go above the ankle. So that could be any footwear really, according to the other schools. But my approach to all of this is like, when you can apply the precaution, it doesn't cause hardship, do it. If it causes hardship, then we look into dispensations and so forth like that. And so that's the restriction on the footwear. So and then for the days when you're not in ihram, you can have another pair of footwear that is nice and sturdy. So if you want to go walking up like Jebel al-Nur or Jebel al-Thawr and these places, if you haven't done them before, then you have some footwear like that. As for ladies, as I said, you can wear whatever you want and make sure it's some decent footwear. And don't be deluded that they won't get nicked, because I was in Masjid al-Nabawi and I made the big mistake of thinking, in Mecca, I thought, no, I better hold on to them. In Medina, I says, I'm going to leave it to the Prophet ﷺ, and guess what happened? They got nicked. So don't have delusions that you have some sort of station where they won't be taken. And then along with that, I recommend like JD Sports bag. What I don't know what you call them. The drawstring ones. I'd have now when you're going into the haram, you probably want one for your shoes and one for your books or something like that to separate them. So you're going to have obviously the haram has Qur'ans all over the place, so you don't necessarily need to take your pocket Qur'an with you, but you might have some like dua books. I recommend certain books at the end of it, you'll see that. But so you might want to put them in a separate bag with you. So you might want to have two. Okay, you're gonna have to keep them up. Don't put your shoes in the shoe racks there. You'll never be able to find them again. Any questions about that? So about women, usually when women go on Umrah, I don't recommend they take anything for to prevent their menstrual cycle. But Hajj, you're gonna have to. If you need to work out if you know that your days are gonna fall in the Hajj period. Are you going to Medina first or Mecca first?
We're going to Medina first.
So it's less of an issue for you. I think you have a few more days. Are you going for 2 weeks or 4 weeks?
2 weeks.
Oh, so it might be. It's not worth the risk. Work out basically your cycles, and if they're going to fall in those, don't risk it. You're going to have to take some. So someone recommended this one. I don't know anything about this. So is it Nori? Then that's Dome Tours recommended that. I don't even know how to pronounce it on the second one. So you need to work that out because you do not want to. You don't, and worst case scenario, sometimes it doesn't work for ladies, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And so you've got to be ready for that sort of situation, panic, and what do I do? There's always a solution, and that your group leaders will be aware of generally. I think on Dome Tours they've got Sister Batul there. So
yeah,
they've
got a doctor as well.
Yeah.
I think they have doctor.
So you've got plenty of things to deal with. But if you have any questions about that,
Can I just ask if there's an abnormal bleed? Then
Yeah.
it wouldn't be classed.
no,
as
if it's outside your cycle, it's istihada basically.
Yeah.
You can perform prayer. You're supposed to perform prayer.
Yeah.
You
But
know everything.
Do you need to wudu
Y-
each
y-
time before you?
You'll basically if it's chronic, then you make wudu once for that prayer time.
Yeah.
Do whatever you can do whatever you want in that prayer time, and then once a new prayer time comes in, then you make another wudu,
Yeah.
and then
Okay.
and this becomes people who have what's it called, those bags where they
Stones.
and all these sorts of issues come up. But I don't think anyone knows anyone in their group that's suffering from those sorts of things, do they?
I don't have a stoma, but I do have kind of similar issues.
Right. Okay. Are you aware of all the issues that you
I was aware of the wudu at each prayer time. I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you about, does it affect ihram itself?
as long as it's contained, because some people say basically it's not Hajj isn't not even obligatory for those sorts of people, but I wouldn't say that. That's not nice for people not to perform it. As long as you can keep it contained, the area where there's no filth, it's not an issue whatsoever. And so I don't know your circumstances.
Okay.
So as long as that can be kept safe, and there's going to be no spillage, it's fine.
Okay.
And in terms of remember all the Hajj rites you can perform anyway. Even a woman who's on her menses, the only thing she can't do is go to the haram to perform the tawaf al-ifadah, which is the major tawaf of the Hajj. That's where things can get complicated for people. And so it's anyone, having filth on you and so forth is not an issue, except for that the thing that can be performed is performed on the 10th right up to the 13th. It can be performed. In the other schools, you can even delay it past that if need be. So there's a lot of scope for people that are in difficult circumstances. Okay. Any other questions about that? Someone recommended these vitamins as well for dehydration. Is it Diarrhelite? Has anyone had those? Yeah, someone said they found those very useful when they're feeling dehydrated. Because I remember when I was in Morocco, if you get hit with diarrhea and then heat, that's so dangerous. I mean, when we were in Morocco, there was Americans there, and they had to be flown back to America because they were so ill. And so, if you do, be careful of the food out there. Stick to things that of a good health standard. The food, and if you do get hit by diarrhea, you need salt intake and water intake together, or something like this, just to get your fluids. Because it can get very dangerous. A distinguishable suitcase. So I use the Pakistani ribbon method. Okay, it's not unique to you guys actually. So the Morocco, once you go out of England, everyone's doing it. I've got my name on my suitcase, and preferably not a black suitcase, and just something that's distinguishable. Umbrella might be useful because of the heat. You might probably be able to get them out there, but that's very useful. Especially in Jum'ah, if you don't get inside the haram, you can end up being in the heat for that long. I nearly passed out when I went on an Umrah once in Ramadan. It's really intense for me. So just something you can cover yourself with.
And can men use an umbrella?
Yeah. In terms of the restrictions of the ihram, it's about it's something you can't wear.
Okay.
And when we even say wearing, is that you wear it for a full daylight hour or nighttime hour. So we're talking from Fajr to sunset, from sunset to Fajr. So if you're wearing it for any time less than that, there's no dam. There's a smaller penalty. It's just zakat al-fitr, the equivalent of zakat al-fitr, which is about £2.50, something like that. And so don't panic about those sorts of things. This is the thing, when we go through the restrictions, it's like all the uncles and aunties, and it's like dum becomes the word, doesn't it? And everyone's panicking about, is my Hajj accepted, and all these sort of things. Once we go through this, it should give you peace of mind. There's not many things that there are done for. Umbrella spray, ihram's useful, because especially in the days of Hajj, you can get dirty, your first one. Hajj books, I'll speak about that later. Someone, I don't know if you got, when you have data roaming there, but someone said something useful, it showed me something useful, that you can, as long as you've got internet connection here, you can go on Google Maps and you can download that, you highlight the area, so Mecca or Mina or Arafat, and then you can download it, and so you can open up without internet connection.
Yeah, Google Maps works without, even if your phone's on airplane mode, it'll still tell you where you are.
That's as long as you've downloaded it though, isn't it?
Yeah, you have to have it on your phone, it'll
so
still work.
There's that option once you go, I can't remember what the option's called, where you actually download those
offline maps, I think.
Offline maps, yeah. So that's quite a useful thing maybe to have. I got these map. I'm weird, when I come to a new place I need to think about all the historical significance, so I got maps of Mecca and Medina, and when I was on the Hajj days there, I go off on my little travelling, missions. And so if people are into that sort of stuff, you can get those. Bag for Mina. You got an issue in Mina. Is anyone staying at Azizia, those areas?
Yeah, you guys are.
We go to Shisha the night before.
Oh, Shisha's another one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just there. Yeah. So you're going to be the night before.
I think we do the Umrah in Makkah, and then we make our way to Shisha and then to Mina for the days of Hajj.
And you're going to be staying in that hotel.
No, then we go to Mina. From there, we stay in Mina.
Yeah,
We
for the
leave our
5 days,
bags
but we
in
leave our
Shisha.
bags
In a hotel
apartment.
there?
It's like
It's an
apartments.
Oh, that's very handy, isn't it? Yeah, that's brilliant, because that's going to be convenient for you in Mina. If you get really tired, you can just go back to your hotel. It's not an issue for you guys whatsoever. The thing is, the dilemma about Mina is coming out of Mina, you're not allowed to take any suitcases through the Jamarat area, which becomes a catch-22, because you've got to get out and you've got to do Yarami. Okay, so when I was there, we did something that wasn't right really, was that the aunties, they sent them back to the hotel with all our stuff, and we did a Rami on their behalf, but that's not valid, because if you're able to perform Rami, you got to.
What's Rami?
The castle and stones, yeah. And so it's a real problem. If you're in, it's not, so what you want to do is when you go to Mina, for the days of Hajj, you want to be able to take something with you, like a rucksack or something like that. That's not a bit of bag on wheels or anything too big, because they won't let you take it through.
Where do you need to take it through to?
Because you're sitting in Mina, and because you need some clothes for the day. You need your toiletries, you need things like that. So for Mina, Arafat, Muzdalifah, coming back to Mina, you're going to have some stuff with you. You're going to have like some snack bars or something like that, some food. You're going to have toiletries. Maybe.
How many days is that in total?
So we've got Mina. So Mina on the 8th. Let me move my head straight. So Mina 8th, Arafat 9th, and then you're at least 3 days. Obviously, you can go back to Hajj. It's back to Mecca and get some more things. But you don't. Basically, the point is, don't go to Mina with a suitcase.
Okay.
Even these small ones, they won't let them through.
Just a backpack.
Yeah, like a backpack or something.
Would you be changing your clothes, or do you just stay in the same?
You can. It's up to you. And that's you raise a good point. A lot of the aunties, they think that women can't take their scarves off in ihram. They can't take their clothes. Basically, you put that clothes on, that's your ihram. That's completely false. Like some women, they're saying basically like they were doing mus over their scarves, wiping over their scarves, because they're saying if you take off your scarf, your ihram's broken and stuff like this. I'm assuming that you think they realise that's not
But
true.
we when we're amongst women, we don't need our hijab.
No, yeah. So
It's just a state, isn't it?
It's
not-
a state, and that's we're going to talk about that. The ihram's a state, it's not the clothing.
Yeah.
And so yes, you can take a change of clothing just in case, because it's dirty. There's dust all over the place. I don't know if it's going to rain this year, but it gets really mucky if it does. And so it's always good to have maybe one set of clothing. Obviously, you need to be carrying a sleeping bag or whatever, but it's not. It's going to be hot out there, so it takes maybe I don't know. Speak to your as I said, don't take my word for it, but maybe just a sheet so that's easier to pack away maybe. But the whole point is whatever you take to Mina, you can't take it in a suitcase. You have to take it in small luggage. So you want something that you can take for that. Cereal bar, snacks, water. It might be very useful to take bottles of water with you here as well on the journey as you're going, because you're going to be sitting in Jeddah for such a long time that you want to be able to eat something that you want to eat.
Do you have any access to food or water like when you're in the airport?
Yes, you will do, but you might not like it. So if you're into your samosas and your kebab sandwiches, you take. They all come out with the Asians.
Kebab sandwich.
So it all becomes sharing out kebabs and samosas. So, copies of passports, like photocopies. Take a few of those, because if you're going to get the SIM cards from Saudi, I've heard that you have to give them a copy of your passport. That's what I've heard. So, and obviously leave some with people here. We generally, my family, we take some pictures, leave some of the family here just in case, and take some with us. It's just a habit we have. Dawaf beads are really useful. Have you seen those? It's like a bracelet and it's got 7 beads on it, so you can count your dawaf, because especially you just forget. Okay, and with your main dawafs you don't want to forget, and so it just means you're taking the beads down for each one. Okay, there's 2 ways to remember your dawaf circuits. There's the beads, really useful, these 7 ones. You probably, if you went to Living Islam or something like that, you should be able to find them, or online. Just go online and look up dawaf beads. Or you can have, there's du'as for each circuit in the prayer book. They're not sunnah, but they're useful, because you're moving from one dua to the next, so it gives you're able to keep count. So that's the sunblock. But if it's fermented, it won't be fermented. If it's perfumed, you won't be able to use it. Apparently, you can get unperfumed. You can. My other group was convinced that you couldn't.
Well, I just had a look in Boots last week. It says non-perfumed.
So that's fine to use then, if you're using it for a purpose.
You know, like you see things with essential oils in there. It's really confusing. Does it have to physically say unfragranced?
Yeah, it would have to be unfragranced.
But then it's got aloe in it, but it's still saying it's unfragranced.
As long as it's not got a pungent smell, if it's very, very subtle.
Okay. Aloe doesn't smell.
I just didn't know.
I mean, everything. You can get paranoid. Everything smells, doesn't it? But
exactly. You get
but avoid some. I mean, you're Pakistanis. You're not going to get sunburn.
That's the thing. I've never used sun lotion.
I don't use it. I actually
it.
on Hajj I look like a red lobster. I did, but I don't use it anyway. But if you do use it, it's valid, but you've got to make sure it's unfragranced.
Sorry, can I ask about also the shampoos?
Yeah, unfragranced is going to have to be only obviously when you're in Ihram.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're
Would they
generally.
provide that for us? Would they provide it for us in Mina?
No, don't expect anything. Like I wouldn't. I would even suspect that there might be soap there that is fragranced.
I heard that.
Yeah. So
even take loo roll.
don't take anything. Don't take anything for granted. You know.
Right.
So supply your own things if need be. A compass, useful obviously when you travel. 2 things I always take with me when I travel: a compass and a tayammum stone. Now most people, why do I say that? Because you can get into situations where you can't access water, and you can't, like for example, when I had a hilarious story on the plane where we ran out of water on the plane because so many people made wudu. But what really happened, like it's nice to have that, even not just for yourself but for other people. Like there's an auntie on the plane, for example, she can't make wudu in the plane. You know, she's she's semi-disabled, and so she makes tayammum. She probably won't understand what you're trying to suggest to her, but that is always an option for people. You don't, because with the Pakistanis it's either I'm just not going to pray, but that's not really an option. And so when you're in a situation where you just literally can't use water, tayammum's an option. And so you get a stone about this, if people aren't familiar, a stone about this size, palm size, so you can basically rub onto your palms like this, and then you rub your face all over, and then you rub on the stone again, making sure you get the area. You do your arms like this, and then go through your fingers with this side, because these sides haven't touched the stone, so that wouldn't be valid, because it's got to be something that's touched the stone touching. So it's a bit of a technicality, but you go through your fingers like this, and then onto your palms. That's a tayammum. So face once, arms once, and then you can pray. Okay.
Do you have to make up that prayer, or is it valid?
No, well, depending on the circumstance, we'll talk about that.
Okay.
So there's sometimes where you think, oh, was that really valid as a tayammum? Just re-pray for the sake of it. There's times where no, you were perfectly valid to do that. You don't need to repeat it at all. Okay. So when I was young and I was unmarried, I'd be on a coach. There's no way you can make with this. There's no toilet on the coach. There's travelling and so forth. You just make tayammum and pray. That's perfectly valid because even if water is accessible, you can't use it. You can't pour it on you. Okay. So that's tayammum. Thick socks. Why do I say that? For wiping when you're on the move. Because before you go into ihram, you can wear socks. So a pair of hiking socks are useful. Just because the plane's a real issue, and we'll speak about that the aeroplane and all the logistical nightmares that can happen with that. So I always travel with these, just so if the situation arises, then I've got those options. Sports bag, we said the what did you call them? The drawstring bags. Diarrhea medication, obviously. Toiletries, Vaseline's very useful for men. Ihram, when I first, a lot of people have given me this feedback. When you do ihram for the first time, you get chafed in your groin area, and so Vaseline solves that problem. So it'd be Vaseline that's some fragrance, and obviously for your feet as well, they can end up cracking. And so if you're applying oils for a purpose, there's no penalty for these sorts of things, and so that's perfectly valid. So that's very handy, Vaseline for feet and for groin area. Dome Tour said no one needs more than £200 each. I mean, I think you need more than that, really, personally. If you're buying for people back home, and all those sorts of things. So I've said between 200, 500. I best to inform your bank before going that you're going to be there, and have a phone number so you can phone just in case they block you. So because it can happen. Obviously, don't change the money here. The exchange rate will be poor here. The exchange rate in the airports won't still probably be less, not as good as actually when you get into Mecca. But the problem with Mecca is be prepared for massive queues. That's in the Hajj days. Trying to get anything is going to be a wait. Aspirin, teas, like herbal teas are good. If you've got an upset stomach and stuff, you just need some warm water. Someone recommended taking even a portable kettle. I don't know if they provide them, but one sister said she had problems, so she took a portable kettle with her and some maybe squeezable honey, so you can get it in some warm water just to settle your stomach and stuff, because halwa body every day eventually does affect you. Travel kettle as well. Travel irons, then they're generally really useless, travel irons. But make sure if you are going to get one, buy one beforehand, look online and make sure the reviews are good and spend a bit more money on it, because the cheap ones are just a nightmare. But you get laundrettes out there, but it can end up getting a bit expensive, because they're just those ones you press and you have to pay for each item generally, and it gets really expensive. Plasters, lip balm, but obviously on fragrance if it's ihram. Scales are really useful, because on the way back, are you going with Turkish Airlines? Yeah, I've heard they can give up to 40 Turkish Airlines.
Yeah.
So,
but the advice is not to pack 40.
Sorry?
The advice is not to pack 40. The advice is to pack 30, because then you have stuff on the way back, and
Yeah.
some water as well.
Yeah, when we went there, we all were overweight and everyone's panicking, and then then they said, oh, we've got to get on the plane. They're not going to weigh our stuff, and we went, yay. And then we realised that meant that we won't have our luggage for the next 3 weeks, because we were all overweight. They couldn't get on the plane, and so it's really important you try to keep to the weight allowance, because it's for yourself and for the whole group. So every time I travel, always when I travel, I have a scale. You can get these digital ones now that are really useful. You wrap them around, hold it up, and then you can and they're really accurate. And so it's always just to save yourself, because you can't use the postal service at that time. So Zubair was telling me it's very expensive and very inefficient. So that's something to think about. Permanent marker maybe as well to write on things. When you all get those stuff you're taking to Mina, especially like a sleeping bag or something, they recommend you write your names on your things, because they can end up getting mixed with everyone else's. Sunglasses, maybe electric trimmer if brothers don't want to go to the barbers. Cheap flip-flops, I said that. Money belt, very useful. Get yourself a decent one that's not just going to rip. There's thieves all over Mecca, so you've got to be conscious of that. Padlocks and travel tags. Cheap mobile that you don't mind losing when you get there. Prayer mat. Pocket tissues always handy when you're going to the bathrooms, because there's no toilet paper. anyway. Tasbih, pocket Quran, earplugs. Snoring is a major issue on Hajj. So your roommates may snore, and if you're a light sleeper, you're going to go nuts. And Mina was like a snore fest when I was in Mina. It was absolutely. I've got stories about Mina. That was hilarious. And travel towel. Okay. Any other things you can think of that you might need to take? So I can expand my list. Anything? No?
Oh, I had an idea from my cousin.
Can I just be excused? I'll just
Yeah.
check for a second.
Elastic bands when you're doing wudu with your shoulder arms. Just
Oh, yeah,
to
that's a
keep
good
it
idea.
Okay.
To keep it up.
So elastic bands, that's the next one. So what's the point of those?
Well, when women are doing wudu,
Yeah.
just to keep
them
and
up.
also around your waist when you need to go to the bathroom, because they say the floors are really
Yeah,
wet and
there's a whole skill to.
yeah, so
Orientating
it's like
yourself.
elastic band will hold everything.
I taught one guy how to do it when he became Muslim, of how to do squat toilets, and he came back soaked. And I said, "What on earth are you doing?" And he said, "Oh, you meant that." And I said, "What were you doing?" So it's even more logistical nightmare there because.
She mentioned disposable gloves, but I don't know in what for.
So it depends on how OCD-ish you are about that. I mean, I'm used to roughing it. I know that my stereotype of Asian women now is that everything's got to be sterile, and so they freak out in Mina and Muzdalifah. It's just like, no, I hold it. You know, it's been 5 days. So just be wary of that you're going to be in situations where you're going to. So maybe do a few camping trips before you go. See if you can how you cope.